So this area here contains the pons, and you can see these are the vertebral arteries here coming together to join to form the basilar artery. So this is supposed to be the cerebellum and the pons here, so the proportions are not very correct here. The main concern here is to just look at the arteries. So here's the basilar, this is the posterior cerebral, this is the superior cerebellar. We saw that there would be other branches here, this anterior and posterior inferior cerebellar. But here are the two branches that combine to form the anterior spinal artery that runs along the anterior surface of the spinal cord to provide blood supply to the spinal cord. Now look here, at the bottom it splits again. The anterior spinal artery splits and goes along the back here. This is the posterior view. Up, goes back up, each individually, and rejoins the vertebral artery in that area. So the vertebral artery really gives off two branches anteriorly that fuse together, form anterior spinal artery, which at the base of spinal cord splits up again and runs as two separate arteries, the posterior spinal arteries, along the posterior side of spinal cord, and then each one rejoins the vertebral artery posteriorly. We talked about the cerebrospinal fluid in the ventricular system of the brain and the subarachnoid space. We talked about how the cerebrospinal fluid moves from ventricles to the subarachnoid space and then drains into the venous sinuses, superior sagittal venous sinus, and from there the rest of the sinuses, and finally the internal jugular vein. So that was the veins. Now the vertebral column also has veins, the venous system. Okay, so this is the vertebral bone. So as you can see, here it is. This would be the lumbar because the two superior articular parts face each other, and the vertebral body is very big. So you can see, but all of them are like this. The venous system to all of them is the same. Here, the dark marks here, these represent the veins. That's called the vertebral veins. So we will look at this. So having an idea of how the veins look like, we will look at it first in the cross section. So taking two vertebral bodies, here's a vertebral bone here, and here's another one. It's been cut in half, and looking at it from the medial side. So there's one vertebral body into a vertebral disc, another vertebral body, and there's spinous processes. And this is the vertebral canal through which the spinal cord runs. Okay, this opening here, this area here. The first thing you can immediately see is this huge meshwork appearance of veins. It's called the internal vertebral venous plexus. The internal vertebral venous plexus runs around the dura mater. Then this portion and these veins here, these are called anterior and posterior external vertebral venous plexuses or veins. Internal vertebral venous plexus, external vertebral venous plexus. Looking here, the portion inside the vertebral canal or foramen, that's the internal venous plexus, and all of these and these are the external venous plexuses of the vertebral column, and they're all joined together. And one prominent vein here that runs through the vertebral body, right through it, that's called the basivertebral vein. Runs through the vertebral body. Basivertebral vein, internal vertebral venous plexus, external vertebral venous plexus.